Okay, selling a stock can be a very difficult task, and sometimes it can even be more difficult than buying the actual stock. This is something that I've been struggling with, and it has been a huge challenge for me to determine when is the best time to sell a stock. Buying the right stocks can be challenging on its own, but I never knew that it's going to be this difficult to sell a good stock. If this is something that you've been struggling with, hopefully the information that I'll be sharing with you guys can help you to determine when the best time is to sell a stock. There's a lot of articles on the internet where they talk about when is the best time to sell a stock, and in my opinion, there's no clear indication when to do so. The articles that I've read didn't really help me too much, so I decided to do my own research and kind of determine in my own terms when the best time is to sell a stock. So some of the reasons in the articles that I read was stuff like when you need the money you should sell the stock, or when the stock price is declining you can sell the stock, or when the stock is flatlining and otherwise it's trading sideways, it's a good idea to sell the stock, or when the company's financial position is not good at all. And although these are reasons some people might consider selling their stocks, this is definitely not the reasons that convinced me to sell my stocks. So just to give you guys a quick background and to talk about the shares that I sold, I invested in SASOL about 2 years ago. The start of the pandemic, when obviously the share price of SASOL was equal to a bottle of Coca-Cola. That's quite crazy to think about, and that was the time when I decided to buy the company. And when you look at the financial position the company was in at that time, and what the market was doing, and what other people was saying about the stock, that was not a good time to invest in such a company. Or basically that was what other people said, or what the market said. So I went ahead and bought a few thousand rands of shares in the company, and I've held on to it until around now. So I finally convinced myself to do the necessary research and fundamental and technical analysis to determine whether it's actually a good time to sell the stock or not. So in a few minutes I'll share with you guys the profit that I made on SASOL, the percentage as well as the amount that I made, and I'll explain what convinced me to actually sell the stock. So before we get to that, I wanted to share with you guys the actual reasons that I wanted to sell the company. And one of the reasons was that I wanted to rebalance my portfolio. So I was heavily invested in South Africa, or in the Johannesburg Stock Exchange, and I made quite good profits on a few companies, and my portfolio was weighted more on the Johannesburg Stock Exchange rather than let's say for example ETFs or American companies. So I decided I wanted to rebalance my portfolio, to diversify, and basically just protect myself for unnecessary risk. Another huge catalyst for me was I wanted to use that money to invest in another company where I saw a better opportunity. So I've been invested in SASOL for about 2 years, or more than 2 years, and I've made my money and I'm happy with the returns that I've got, and I want to use the money that I've generated to invest in another company that I feel will give me great returns in the years ahead. Another reason is that I feel long-term risk with a company like SASOL is quite high. I didn't mind taking on the risk during the pandemic because I knew that I had such a huge margin of safety, and I knew that SASOL itself was trading well below its intrinsic value. I, however, can't see myself holding on to a company like this for 20 or 30 years. Just because of the management and the way that things work in South Africa. I'm not bad mouthing the company, and this is just my opinion. This is not financial advice at all. Another reason is I've set a price target for the company, and I knew from day one of investing at what price or what estimated price I wanted to sell the company. The last reason I decided to sell the company is when I purchased the shares, the company's balance sheet and income statement were in a dire state, and I knew that this won't go on for too long and they would obviously improve their financial position. SASOL is in a place where they improved their balance sheet or fundamentals in such a manner that I feel that it's a good time to exit the company because I don't know what the future holds. So with that said, that is kind of the reason behind me selling this company. So if you own a specific stock, you might ask yourself these same questions like, do you need to rebalance your portfolio? Is there better opportunities for you to invest your money in? Are you happy with taking on the long-term risk with that specific company? Is the company's financial position so good that you feel that you can continue holding this stock? These are just some of the questions that you need to ask yourself, and it's by no means the only questions you should ask yourself, but it's a good starting point. Another thing that I love to do is to use technical analysis to determine whether it's a good entry or exit point when buying or selling a stock. And although I am not a day trader, a forex trader, or whatever you may call it, I love using technical analysis to determine when is the best exit or entry point for a specific stock. So this is just a chart of SASOL where I added a few technical tools like the 200-day moving average, a 8 and a 20-day moving average, which just helps me determine the trend of the stock, and it helps me to determine what is a good exit point for this company. So basically, when your stock price or when your price movement is above the 200-day moving average, the 200-day is this yellow line. It basically just means that the stock is in an uptrend. So here we can see that it's moving from the left corner up until in the middle here. So it basically just shows that the stock is in an uptrend, which is good because we want to trade the trend. I use the 8 and 20-day moving average to determine when I can actually exit the stock. And just to be clear with you guys, this is not a perfect technical analysis, and like I said, I am only using this to estimate a good exit point, and unfortunately I was not able to sell the stock at its highest price ever, but I'm more than happy with the gains that I received. There's a quote from Warren Buffett, or a quote that Warren Buffett uses, where he says, "Be fearful when other people are greedy, and be greedy when other people are fearful." And what I've seen now is that people are very greedy and buying into SASOL like crazy. I've seen tweets on Twitter where people are recommending buying SASOL now at their current valuations, but that same people, they were afraid to buy in when the company was trading at a much lower valuation. So I was able to sell the company at around 378 Rand, and unfortunately I missed out on about, let's just check, just want to show you guys. So I missed out on about almost 4.5%. So that is gains that I could have received extra on the amount, because what can happen is you can kind of postpone selling the stock and wait for it to go up and up and up, and just before you want to sell it, the stock crashes and it corrects itself, and then you have to wait much longer. Okay, so then I also just want to show you guys the fundamental side of selling a company like SASOL. So what I've done is, usually I download the annual report of the company and go through that, but this just makes it much easier for the video, and I love using Yahoo Finance because it shows everything in one place. So what I basically look at, I just wanted to see the company's financial position improve in such a way that I feel that they are in a healthy position. And this basically means I bought the company at a, let's say, an unhealthy position, and now they are at a healthy position, which signals for me it's a good time to sell the company. Other stocks that I invest in, this is not necessarily the exact same strategy that I used, but in this case, in SASOL's case, this is what I've done. So I just wanted to show you guys, I bought the stock in 2020, and here we can see the total revenue that they generated was 190 billion. The cost of that revenue was 112 billion rand, which means their gross profit was 77 billion rand. So there's analysis that we can do of the gross profit margin, which is 77 billion divided by 190 billion, which equals a 40% gross profit, which is good. But something that we need to see is the operating income that they generated during that year was only 13 billion rand, which is not necessarily a very good margin. What I wanted to wait and see is if this position can be improved. And here with the trailing 12 month, here we can see their total revenue was 229 billion. The cost of revenue was 115 billion. Their gross profit was 113 billion, and their operating income was 34 billion. So it's more than double than it was in 2020, and the revenue amount has only increased slightly. So so we can also look at the net income of the company. This basically just shows the amount of money that SASOL can keep. And once again, in 2020, they lost a whopping 91 billion rand. And this is where people decided to flee the stock. And in this newest, and the trailing 12 months, they made 9.5 billion rand. And if we look back a few years, 2018, it's more than they made in 2018. It's doubled what they made in 2019. So this signals to me that it is good revenue. They made good net income, and this signals to me that the company is at least in a better financial position. So this is just a quick explanation of stuff that I look at on the income statement. When we go to the balance sheet, this is just to determine whether the company is in a good financial position or not. And here we can see in 2020, their total liabilities, it was crazy. Their total liabilities in 2020 was 319 billion rand. And their total assets were 479 billion. So what they've done is they've reduced their assets, but they also reduced their total liabilities drastically. And basically they've reduced their current liabilities quite a bit, which also means their current liabilities, their current assets has decreased as well. But at least their current assets more than covers their current liabilities, which signals to me it's a good financial position. So this is just a very basic explanation. There's a lot of stuff that we can do on the balance sheet, but for the purpose of the video, I'm going to jump to the cash flow statement. And here, what I like to invest in companies which has good free cash flow. And once again, in 2020, the company was losing around 5 billion rand in cash flow. And in the trailing 12 months, they generated 26 billion rand of free cash flow. So we can look at the previous year, and then the trailing 12 months, this has increased drastically as well. So yeah, this is basically the stuff that I look at when analyzing a company's reports. And this just helped me to determine or basically just to confirm again that I am happy with selling SASOL. The last thing that I wanted to show you guys is the profit that I made on SASOL and what the selling process actually looked like. So here we can see what price I sold SASOL at, and it was 378. I placed a limit order which is showing that it's pending over here, and I waited for the market to reach that exact price, which basically executed the selling order, and I received my profit. So I wanted to show you guys the profit that I made on this SASOL shares, and here we can see it's 365%, which is, in my opinion, a great return. And yeah, I'm really happy with the amount. And the price target that I set for the company was 350 Rand. So I was willing to sell the company at 350 Rand, and I actually sold it for 378 Rand. So I basically just placed a limit order and waited for the market to reach that specific price to execute the sell. And yeah, so after the order was completed, I can show you guys here the amount that I received, and it shows here the funds that I have available to invest, which is basically the amount that I sold, is 107,063 Rand and 20 cents. And this is quite a good return for me, and I'm happy with the amount that I received. Like I said, I could be greedy and try to wait for the price to go up even more. It actually did go up even more, but there's no way for me to determine the exact time to sell. So I was really happy with this, and it's just a good feeling to know that the investment paid off. So with that said, I'm in no way telling you guys that you should buy SASOL or sell SASOL. This is purely my opinion, and I'm basically just sharing the experience that I had and sharing with you guys the stuff that I looked at. I hope though that the information can help you in some way, and just remember to ask yourself those questions that I stated in the beginning. Do the necessary fundamental analysis as well as technical analysis to determine whether it's a good time to sell the stock or not. And you can do this when you want to buy a stock or when you want to sell a stock. So with that said, I really want to thank you guys for the support lately. I've received such good feedback from so many people, and there's a lot of people that has been messaging me and commenting on the videos, and really just it motivates me so much to keep on making these videos. And I hope that I can eventually do this full time and provide even better content for you guys. If you are watching this video and you're not subscribed yet, please consider taking the time, watch some of my other videos, and if you like it, hopefully you subscribe. Yeah, and thanks again for you guys for all the support. I just love making videos for you, and it's really fulfilling to know that people are actually watching it. With that said, I hope to see you guys in the next video, and happy investing.